Firstly, I would want to thank you for having me over to give a brief note about Assam Rifles. And I have been the Director General now for the past 2 years and 2 months. This is of course my fourth tenure with the Assam Rifles. I am not new over here and began my journey in Assam Rifles as a major far back in 1996. That was in Manipur, and of course I had the opportunity to be in Manipur once again as a brigade commander. That was again about 10 years ago. Then I was in Nagaland as the IG. I also commanded my battalion in Assam, and prior to that, in my very early years of service, I was in Sikkim as a young lieutenant, as a company commander. That's my background on the Northeast. I've been here for close to 22 years now, and coming to the force, you all are aware that we are a Northeast centric force. We've been here for the last 180 years, 88 years since we were raised, and our roles have kept evolving over the years as time went by. But what is of essence is Assam Rifles is known throughout the Northeast, even to the in the remotest areas. When you go, people know what Assam Rifles is, and I would want to credit all our past soldiers, all the former heads of this great organization who've done so much for the Northeast. In fact, Northeast and we've grown together, which is why we are called as Friends of the Northeast. But of course, we've been also deployed in other areas. We've been in Sri Lanka, we've been in Jammu and Kashmir at the peak of militancy in the 90s, and at present also we have 2 battalions there in the Northeast, in Kashmir, doing a fabulous job. And then of late we have Mahilas who've been inducted, who've been in the force for over a decade now, doing a very phenomenal job. Of that I shall come to later based on the questions that you would ask me. So currently, as you know, the force is hugely committed both on the border guarding role as also tackling insurgency, and what is in the news of course is Manipur, where we are deployed in a very big way, controlling the local situation that exists there. The situation in Manipur, you all are quite aware. It's being covered in so many channels in the print media. But if I need to sum it all up, I think personally that the worst is behind us. There are these sporadic incidents of violence, shootings, killings, but those gradually will subside, and I think we are heading towards better times going forward. If I have to put it very frankly, it's not the security forces who can sort this problem out as is thought to be. We are here only to curtail the levels of violence. We are here to stop these firings that take place, but more importantly, what goes backstage, what happens backstage is not there in the news, and that is where we along with the Indian Army are playing a very big role. We are talking to the multiple civil society organizations that are there. There are the youth there and various stakeholders, essentially to get them onto the talking table and get this issue sorted out. As you would know, the geography of Manipur is now well known. It's there again in media. I think there is nobody who doesn't know now that 90% hills and 10% valley. So it's in the areas where the hills meet the valley, or the valley meets the hills, that is the fringe areas. So on these fringe areas you have people of both the communities, and that's where the trouble lies. Deep inside Imphal, in the heart of the valley, there are only these protests, rallies, etc. being carried out, but not violence as what happened in the initial stages. Actually, to be very honest with you, this complete thing is new to us. We have essentially been doing three roles: bodyguarding, insurgency, and conventional operations, that is fighting alongside the Indian Army. And to give you an example, 1962 here in the northeast, when we fought alongside the Indian Army in all the valleys of Arunachal Pradesh. So traditionally this has been a role. Now this particular instance, these past 120 days, 20 odd days, is something which is very new. As the head of the force, I can tell you with all my vast experience here, I have never faced a situation like this. So my full credit goes to my company commanders, my commandants, that is the commanding officers, the sector commanders, who've toiled day and night. They've not gone on any leave from the time this has happened, no matter what emergencies they had, and they've been able to handle the situation in a very good manner. My compliments to them. The new challenges that you said, of course, are things like mobs surrounding us, the women blocking the road, then two communities fighting amongst themselves. Of course, there has been a similar instance going back in the early 90s when the Nagas fought the Kukis. I was here as a major, as a company commander then. So that time we had both. We would be fighting the insurgency. Insurgency was at its peak then, and also try and prevent clashes between the two forces. So the two communities. So these are some of the new challenges that we are facing, and the thing of burning of houses, such like things. I want to clarify here that all the forces, whether it is the Indian Army, Assam Rifles, the other CAPFs who are here, as also Manipur Police, all of them are working under extremely tiring conditions. So when you are operating for such a long period of time, every single day, obviously there are certain misunderstandings that take place, and those are very far and few between, and surely that has not in any way hindered our operations. The only issue is, the media sometimes blows this up to highlight that there is something wrong. It is not the case. Let me assure you that there is absolute good relationship between all the security forces, and there is a security advisor there at whose behest, and we operate on a daily basis. So there is actually no issue. It's not just now what we are doing, it's from the time this began. And let me at the very outset tell all the viewers that along with the Indian Army, we have been playing an absolutely unbiased kind of a role here. And I'll tell you why. I have reasons to tell you that from the time this violence broke out, the initial 3 days, there were about 212 places where these violence happened. I am counting both the hills and valleys, and our people were everywhere trying to curtail the violence, trying to stop the killings, stop the shootings, burning of houses that were happening, and we did succeed to a very large extent. Then in terms of relief camps that were established for these people, over 100 relief camps were established. We assisted in creating them. We helped movement of almost 45,000 people from the hills, that includes both from the hills into the valley, from the valley into the hills. We facilitated their movement other than creating these relief camps as well. Besides, we also established or had medical camps, because that was of great necessity, and we are still continuing with that. In this complete period, we have had almost 300 odd medical camps with specialists. We have treated close to 12,000 people, again of both communities. Medicines worth 15 lakhs have been distributed by us. Besides, like I said earlier, we have been engaging with the civil society organizations of both the groups, and the groups themselves know whom I am alluding to. I, as the head of the Assam Rifles, I am doing this. The Army Commander of Eastern Command General RP Kalita, he is doing it, the Corps Commander is doing it, 3 Corps, General Shahi. So are everybody else down till the company commanders. So the process really is from the company commanders and upwards. We are speaking to everyone concerned to kind of tell them that there is no other way but to get onto the talking table, negotiations, and curtail or stop this violence. And that is my humble prayer to the people of Manipur. Talking of, since you asked this question, I also want to clarify certain other issues of people saying or wrongly alleging that we are biased towards a particular community, which we are not. I want to make that absolutely clear. If you see again the number of bunkers that were established by both the communities, the numbers that we have destroyed are equal. The weapons that we have recovered again from both the communities are equal. The number of people that we have helped become victims of violence again is equal. So how can we be biased? Look a little further. We are a northeast centric force. We have been here, but we are also an all India, all class composition. We have soldiers from all over the country. So to us, both the communities are absolutely the same. Why should we be, partial to one particular community? We are not. And let me also add that we have soldiers from both the communities in our force. So if that be so, and we had no issue of any kind of rivalry amongst them, that truly speaks of the leadership that is there both in the army as also Assam Rifles, essentially army officers who've given all that they could to ensure or to try and bring about peace. So these are some of the confidence building measures that we are taking. I now gave you a background. I wish to bring to light what has happened in the past couple of years. Every Director General who comes here tries his best to make new changes. So in that regard, all my predecessors have done a marvelous job. My great respects for them. But what I could focus on was basically related to my experience, long years of experience here in Assam Rifles and the Northeast. Being more specific in terms of procurement, there are new weapons and equipment that we are going in for. We are going for handheld thermal imagers, night vision goggles, lighter bulletproof jackets, lighter bulletproof helmets, new generation light vehicles, then mine protection vehicles, drones, non-lethal weapons. All these are already there. In addition, we have certain other things which we are planning to procure, and these are things like all-terrain vehicles, medium grenade launchers, high performance light vehicles. All these are coming very soon. I wish to also emphasize here that all our procurements are being done in an absolute transparent manner. It is through the GEM or the government e-market that we are doing it. In terms of clothing, kitting, rations, again we have done some kind of an introspection. There are certain items of clothing which we have discarded, certain that we have added. Similarly is the case for kitting, and all these things that we are procuring, they go through the stringent laboratory conditions of testing. We ensure that we get the bang for the buck, we get our soldiers get what they deserve. And talking of rations, of late what we have also started is procuring millets. To be more specific, about 10% of the grains that we provide to our troops are now millets, and we are just testing this. The initial feedback from our troops has been very good. Maybe going forward from 10% we'll increase this to 25%, because this is the year of millets, and we've just started this process. I told you earlier that 10% is what we have started with, and if I have to tell you in terms of figures, In place of rice, what we are giving is jowar and bajra and ragi, and in place of wheat, we are giving them dalia. And this is being made, I mean, from this we are giving our soldiers chapatis, khichdis. In addition, we've made a recipe for various things that can be made, and we've distributed it to our battalions. I am sure they are utilizing this. In addition, the other things that we are also making is there are biscuits, cakes, muffins, chocolates, and we will give to you a sample before you leave. We have it in our bakery, so you can see how good it is.
And what are the benefits?
Benefits, there are benefits, which is why this is year of millets. First is in terms of what we are having earlier, the rice and wheat were very high carb, and the fiber content was less. And since our soldiers serve till the age of 60, there are age related issues which start after 40-45. So this surely will bring that down, though we have other things also which we are following in our battalions, where people who are a little elder in the age profile, we give them diet which has lesser oil, ghee, etc. There are other things also, like milk, for example. It was tinned milk and milk powder that we were largely supplying our people, soldiers. Now, wherever possible, we are trying to give them fresh milk. Coming to the HR issues, in terms of aspirations that people have, for a very long period of time, there was a lot of discontentment in terms of promotions not coming their way, serving 40 years. So we've gone for something called as the cadre management, cadre review. That is at a very advanced stage. To my mind, in the next 2 to 3 months, this should be out. But in this, what will happen is, in the Group B and Group C cadre, we will address the issue of stagnation, and which to my mind will greatly add to boosting the morale of our soldiers. Let me also speak about the Mahila soldiers, the women soldiers. I made a brief mention of that earlier. They are doing a tremendous job. Currently, we have about 2,138 Mahila soldiers. Our sanction strength is 2,500. So maybe by the end of next year, all these 2,500 would be in. Now, these Mahila soldiers are also in the United Nations contingent. Currently, they are in Congo and Sudan, a total of 45 of them. And we expect by the end of this year, we would get probably another 20 vacancies. So that would mean about 65 of them. They are doing a very good job in Jammu and Kashmir. Some of you would have seen, and at least it was covered largely, it's still being covered very widely in the Kashmiri media, of how good or what a great job they are doing. These women soldiers will also come up for promotion as officers sometimes in 2028 as assistant commandants. Like you would be aware, 20% of the officers in Assam Rifles are of the Assam Rifle cadre. From soldiers, they become officers. 80% of course are from the army. In terms of recruitment, I want to highlight that while in 2020, because of COVID, recruitment couldn't happen. In 2021, there are certain amount of vacancies that we have for recruitment. We continued in 2021 and 22 also. So in the last 3 years, we've been able to make up almost 15% of our deficiencies, which is a big number. And by next year, or probably middle of next year, June 2024, our deficiencies will be nil, which I think is a great achievement. I also want to highlight here a fact, and which is of great concern to us in recruitment, is there are certain vacancies that we have for the border districts of the Northeast. These are unfortunately going undersubscribed in the last few years that we are observing. To be again specific, in the last 2 years, the shortfall there has been 53%. 53% of the vacancies of the border district are going unsubscribed, and I wish to utilize your media to convey this message to people of these districts that they should come forth and avail this opportunity. We are also looking into welfare of our ex-servicemen. Obviously, you would know that they are uppermost in our mind. We haven't forgotten them. We have something called as the Assam Rifle Ex-Servicemen Association, ARESA as we call it for short. We have a total of 34 centers for them all over the country. We plan to open another 4. 3 have already been opened this year. So in all, we'll have about 41 of these centers across the country. In terms of rallies for them, ex-servicemen rallies, we've held 6 of them already this year. 6 more are planned. So this is by and large what we have in place for future.